this is Joe Calloway.
And this is Randy Pennington. We talk about leadership, and today we're going to talk about what type of employees you're going to need to succeed in the future.
And that means new employees that will be coming on. It also means the employees that are already there that are still going to be with you in the future.
You know, one of the big challenges that everybody's facing right now is what's going to happen with artificial intelligence, with robotics, and what does that mean for my workplace, and what kind of employees I'm going to need. Yeah, I'm going to take us back from a little history standpoint. When I first started in business, I worked in HR. It was then called personnel.
It was, wow.
It was called the personnel department. We looked at people's aptitude. Could you do the basic job? Because we just sort of assumed that everybody had the same values. Well, that was a mistake, but that's what we assumed. And then there were some companies like Southwest Airlines that we talked about in a previous episode, like Nucor Steel and a number of others that said, wait a minute, we have attitude. So we started looking at, we hire attitude, we can teach the skills. But when you think about it, that's two ways, aptitude and attitude. I think today you have to have something different. You have to have a third A. Not that those others aren't important, but you have to have people with altitude. And that's the kind of employees that you need. Someone who has a lot of headroom for growth and opportunity. And I want to take you back because you have daughters who will soon be in the workplace. When you talk to them about what they need to be successful in the future, I'm curious, what do you talk to them about?
You know, it's interesting. We talk a lot about, because they are digital creatures. I love a phrase that I read in something you wrote just a couple of days ago. What was it? This is not an accessory, it's an appendage.
It's an appendage.
It's all permanently there. When you, as you said, when you talk about digital transformation, you're just talking about normal for Gen Z, certainly. But I talk to them a lot about exploring what can be. Do your job. Take tremendous responsibility for the excellence of execution of what you're doing. And then at the conclusion of you successfully doing that, always ask the question, how can this be better? What can build this? What could replace this? What could make it better? And to do that, here's the thing, and I'm as guilty as anybody, Randy. I've gotten so good at some stuff that I could do it with one arm tied behind my back. I don't want to quit doing that. I'm good at it, and it's easy. Fun. It's fun and it's easy. That doesn't get me anywhere. There's an old saying, if you do it the way you've always done it, you'll get what you've always gotten. No, you won't. You'll get less until you go out of business. So, yeah, to me, that openness of attitude means a willingness to question, which we talk about a lot. What's your take on that?
You know, and I'm doing this project, and you know that we've talked about it before. I'm working with an independent school district.
Yeah, this is great.
And what we're starting to think about is, what does a high school graduate need to look like in the year 2035? Because that's far enough down. That's 15 years from now. And both your daughters are going to be heavily in the workplace right now. But see, at that point in time, there's a piece of technical skill that they have to have. But most of what they're going to need is critical thinking, it's communication, it's collaboration, which is not the same as cooperation. Cooperation is, you help, I'll be nice to you. Collaboration is seeking out others to work with you. There's a piece of it that's the curiosity and the willingness to change, not because you have to, but because you want to. And so a lot of it's going to be interpersonal skills.
It is going to be interpersonal skills. And thinking about the worker of the future, would you say that part of it might be, and you've actually already said it in different words, or I think you have, not just the old standard of how well do you do this task that we are hiring you to do, but how well do you learn?
Absolutely.
Are you a learner? Because if you're not a learner, you can't work here.
So I saw this interesting statistic as I started working with this project. And by the way, the way I got into this is I've become very interested in what's happening with education.
Yeah.
Not because I'm particularly an education guy, although I like education a lot, but when I start looking at what employers are telling me and what they need in the workplace, I begin to realize that employers and business can only be as good as the folks that they have to work with.
Yeah.
And so we've got to get better talent into the pipeline. And one of the things that I found is if you start engineering school right now, by the time you graduate, 50% of what they taught you in engineering school will be obsolete.
Which is the point exactly of, are you a learner? Because if you come and say, this is what I do it extremely well, that's fine. Understand a year from now, you're not going to be doing that.
Yeah, we haven't done that in 5 years. One of the things, one of my clients is the Southern Nuclear Operating Company.
There you go.
They run nuclear power plants. And the engineers there told me, he said, when we hire a nuclear engineer, we realize that the only thing that their college degree shows us is that they know how to learn.
Yeah.
Not that they don't know how to do what we do, but they know how to learn. And when you look at everything that we have to do in business, there's going to be very little in 15 years about your business that's going to be exactly the same, except this. You still have to figure out the way to relate to customers and deliver a product that is a great quality.
Yep.
Now,
which is ultimately always the point.
That's always the point.
It has to be the point.
It's right. One of the things Ross Perot told me when I interviewed him for one of my books, he said that one of the things is the principles of leadership never change because people never change at their core of what's important to them. So the principles always remain the same. The execution of that,
the application of
that always changes. And so if you don't have a workforce that can change on the dime, that can continually learn, then you're going to be in trouble.
I think the big takeaway of what we're talking about is about learning. That if you're not hiring employees who are good learners, you got trouble. There's trouble coming.
And let me add one piece. We're not saying send people to training all the time.
No.
Training is important, absolutely.
Sure.
But every single project that you do, every single milestone that you reach, there has to be a learning piece of how do we then incorporate that into what's next.
One of my favorite clients, can end with this, one of my favorite clients at their awards banquet every year, and they would give the awards to the people that had knocked their numbers out of existence, and they'd say, good for you, man, you killed it this year. Let me ask you a question. Is this as good as you're going to be? Because if it is, you can't work here. And they loved it. The employees loved it. That was one of their mantras. And so the attitude that the employees had was, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Absolutely.
Wait till you see what I come up with next.
And by the way, wait till you see what we come up with next too. We'll see you next time.